Hey folks, how you doing? Yes, I'm a few minutes late, if you want to call it late. This is the Views Expressed for the 21st of February 2014. You know, it's a combined show today with the Wayne S. Pierce show. You know, when you're using a mixer, there's certain things that you have to do, like make sure a button is not pushed. It's one of those days, folks. But it's Friday. It's Friday. It's here. Friday is here. Your weekend is coming. All of that. There's a lot of things going on in the news. There's a lot of things going on that I want to share with you. So I'll go to the break at the half-hour mark. Actually, I was told to go, 20 minutes breaks. Why? I'm not beholden to any sponsors. So, I don't have any network sponsors, So there you go. My show, my programming. You know what I mean? Just saying. Anyway, hey folks, how you doing today? You can go to freeamericaradio.us if you want to assist Free America Radio Network in getting to the next level. And we are doing that as we speak. You can also hear us live in the Chickamauga, Georgia area on 1610 micro broadcasting on 1610 AM. And all you people out there in Georgia, how you doing? How are you? Email me at freeamericaradio@unseen.is. freeamericaradio@unseen.is. Lots of things going on. I'm going to start out by saying this. Again, it's a combined show, so I'm going to try to keep it, light. Try to keep the humor in it all. You know what I mean there, right? All right. Hey, I want to say hello to all you people in the fascist state of New York with your fascist governor, Cuomo, and your fascist New York City Mayor, Bill de Blasio. They're both connected, right? Cuomo was at the, I don't know which meeting, what year it was, but he was at the Bilderberg meeting several years ago, I do believe. And I think de Blasio was part of something, and I can't remember what that is offhand. That would be up to you to do your homework, folks. I don't have it all in front of me. Parish Dave over at LA Times writes, UAW appeals for new union vote after loss of Volkswagen in Tennessee. Let me just say something about the unions. They have outlived their usefulness and serve no purpose except for politicians with large hands, and the unions have deep pockets. Okay. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. You've heard that adage, right? It's like your friend you have two friends. One walks up to you and gives you $100 just to help you out, and another friend comes up and borrows $98 from you. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even borrow it. Just opens your wallet and says, oh, look, $98, exactly what I need. Thank you. Hey, here you go. And you get $2 left. That's pretty much what the unions are doing, okay? Now, not all union members and not all unions are bad. My father and my brother both are union people. I'm not anti-union and I'm not pro-union. I'm pro-American. I'm pro-United States. I'm pro-bringing jobs back to us here in the U.S., okay, I'm done with NAFTA, GATT, and what's the other one? Colombia Free Trade Agreement, CAFTA. I'm done with all of that because it takes money out of your pocket, okay? And it breaks all of these little companies up, I shouldn't say little. I mean, any company that employs 2,000 people or more is not little. But it breaks everything up. What we need is a trade federation, not a union. Totally different. Go look it up. Look up federation, look up union. They may have the same type of interchangeable words and ideas and philosophies, but one is a lot better than the other. And it's the people that make it, not the leaders. You're only a good leader as much as the people like you and as much as the people will help you out. And you have to be fair and reasonable with the people. Well, with the unions, the last 25, 30 years, they haven't been anything. Because the government has infiltrated each and every single one of them and has torn them down to do one thing and one thing only. Break them up. Why do you think that these unions sign on to these trade agreements in a way? They're lobbyists and special interest groups for the unions, and the politicians for the unions sign on to these things without the unions ever having a say in the matter. Go look it up. Go start checking off the boxes. You'll see who's connected, and you'll see what happens. If you're a union member, you know. You know how corrupt they are. But they're corrupted by our own government. We need a trade federation, which means that a person looking at you as a worker can, look at the company you work for, check out all of the finances and all of how they make the money and say, look, you made this last year. By the way, my member, the member of this federation, is making $2 less an hour than the other person over here in another state. Excuse me. Give me that $2. You can afford it. Pay my member the $2 an hour more because here's your finances. I know what they are. You can afford to pay the guy $2 more. Unions don't do that. Unions look at their members and go, where's our union dues? Oh, and by the way, we're going to take your union dues and support some candidate that you don't like. But then again, on the other hand, flip that coin over. If the company's not making the money that it used to year to date from last year or 5 years ago, yeah, you're not going to get the money. So what is causing all of these financial problems? Hello, can you say Washington, D.C.? Think about it. Follow the money, follow the people, look at what's happening, check off the boxes, you know what I mean? Add 1 + 1 = 2, folks. It's not Common Core math, okay? You understand what's going on. You understand how this is all working. You understand how all of this has been manipulated to collapse. And here's the latest news from the LA Times. United Automobile Worker Union appealed to the National Labor Relations Board on Friday, contesting a failed unionization vote at Volkswagen's Chattanooga plant, saying several conservative politicians mounted a coercive campaign to dissuade workers from approving the union. In the days leading up to last week's election, several lawmakers from Tennessee suggested that subsidies for Volkswagen might evaporate if the plant was unionized. They also said production of a new vehicle could be pushed to Mexico instead of Tennessee. Quote, the state officials' threats were a constant presence in the minds of voters in the period immediately before and during the election and were a blatant attempt to create an atmosphere of fear of harm to employees, their jobs, and the viability of their employer, and cause employees to vote against a UAW representation out of fear, unquote, UAW said in an appeal filed with the NLRB. The union called for a new election free from interference by politicians and special interest groups. There you go, folks. The attorney working with the anti-union campaign at the plant told the Los Angeles Times that he expects the appeal to be denied. Quote, when you look at the law on third-party interference, the law sets a very high bar, unquote, Maury nicely said. Quote, this doesn't meet the standard, unquote. The narrow defeat in Chattanooga was an embarrassing setback for UAW, which had hoped to establish a union at a southern foreign-owned factory for the first time and deliver confidence to its Motor City members. It remains the only major Volkswagen factory in the world without a union, and the company's union in Germany has expressed frustration about that. Nicely noted that the NLRB last month rejected a complaint filed by anti-union forces over what they perceived as pro-union statements made by Volkswagen and its German union IG Metall. Quote, that's set a pretty good precedence if you ask me, unquote, Nicely said. Labor law experts said they had little doubt that voters were impacted by the comments. I'll put this up on Free America Radio, up on Facebook, and you can read the rest of it. There's a sentiment out there. Like I said, I'm not for or against unions. I'm for a fair market living wage. Okay, and a lot of people don't know what that is. You know, a fair market. What's the market say? What is the market? What dictates price in the market? Okay, what dictates price in the market is your perception of what that thing is worth, including you as a worker. Now, a lot of people would say, well, you know, companies can't pay people what they're worth. Hell, what would minimum wage be? $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $200 an hour? Well, only if you're an attorney. But I look at it this way. Unions are not going to fight for you. They never have. What's if the company doesn't pay you the wage that you believe you're worth, what you're in that position, what's the first thing a union says? Excuse me. What's the first thing a union says? Oh, we got to strike. We got to hit them in the wallet. We got to strike. Oh, and we're going to pay you how much per day to strike? Doesn't make any sense, folks. Doesn't make any sense at all. You need a fair market living wage. How do you determine that? You determine that by the market. Who's buying what at what price? You know, a lot of people, a lot of analysts would say, and I'm presuming they would say this, that it all depends on what the company is, how much the company is making. Then you can pay those people a fair market living wage. Really? Seriously? I'm not a financial analyst. I don't claim to be one. I'm not a financial person. None of that. I'm not an attorney. I don't give legal advice. I'm not a doctor. I don't give medical advice. But I do tell people to follow trends, to look at the numbers, to crunch the numbers, to follow the money, to follow these people who are making the money. Okay? And it's not easy. I understand that. It's not easy making less than what you're worth. You know? I understand that. A fair market living wage would look at that position in that company and compare it to not only other companies in the region that do the same thing, but they would also look at the cost of living in that region. How much is that position worth? Not so much how much you're worth, but how much is that position worth in that region? Then they got to take in all kinds of other financial, things and determine the company's cost of that position to hire you to put in that position. You could say, yeah, I'm worth $100 an hour, but if that position is only worth $25 an hour, what are you going to do? And if the position is worth, say it's worth $18 an hour, but you believe you're worth $25, what are you willing to take? The fair market living wage or what you think you're worth? That whole thing just bounces back and forth, and you can go through all sorts of scenarios trying to figure that one out. But the easiest thing to do is to add 1 plus 1. If the company's not making any money or hardly anything compared to last year or compared to 2 to 3, 4 years ago in that region, do you think you're going to get what you believe you're worth? Or what do you think that company's going to be able to pay what that position is worth? Probably not. This whole big internet boom, back in the 90s when browsers and all this, I remember reading the articles about the people that started Netscape. They started Netscape. They had this browser. It was fantastic. I used it. And then AOL came along and offered them some money. And they went, really? Cool. And AOL was big at the time, and just after 2000, right? Huge. Well, the people that developed it took their money and run. They went, you're going to do what? Cool. Right on. Bye. They took the money and created Mozilla Firefox. And Mozilla, that's what it is. Same thing, same type of browser, same type of setup, just a different name. And they made money hand over fist. They walked away millionaires. But now, the boom, the crash, the internet crash came, and now people are, and now it's picking up again because now it's everything's moving to the internet. You watch your TV shows on the internet. They got, all kinds of technology out there to help you. But see, some companies in the internet, field, in the technology field are unionized. And these people are making big bucks. Why? Because that position is in that position is in demand, and therefore the person going into there can dictate how much he wants to get paid. He or she wants to get paid. On the other hand, if somebody works in a warehouse, works in transportation, driving forklift, loading up trucks to have them, hauled out, that position's not in demand because there's a ton of those positions. I've worked in warehousing. I've worked in construction. I know. Write your own ticket. Find what you can do and what the demand for what you can do is. You can pretty much write your own ticket. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't. But also look at the company's, prospectus. Look at how much the company makes. Look at their 5-year plan. Look at their 2-year plan. Look at their 1-year plan. Are they going to be able to pay you for that position? Not what you think you're worth, for that position. Chances are, in this economy, I'll put a question mark at the end of that. So when you examine these unions, when you look at what's going on, you should only have one question in your mind. And that is, what am I worth? The second question, if you get that far, to ask yourself is, why should I give up a portion of my check to a company or to an organization that calls themselves a union and doesn't help me make more money, make a better wage, have all that? Now again, let me say this. I'm not pro or against unions. They have their good things that they do. They have a lot of bad things that they do. But unions aren't going to fight for you. You have to fight for you. You have to understand how much that position is worth, and you have to ask yourself, am I making that money? That's why the National Labor Relations Board is always getting sued and having people ask them questions, because people know. I'm not making the money that I was used to. Why? Because that company thinks that position that you were in is not worth it anymore, even though you know it is. Again, you got to look at the company's finances. You got to make sure they can pay you, yada, yada, yada. Just, one of those things. I know that's deep. That's a lot of homework. Okay? A lot of homework for you to do, but it's well worth it. If you believe that you're worth a certain amount, why don't you go look for a job in that field that you have experience in and get and see how much that position is worth, and hopefully it's close enough to where you can live, on what you make from that position. Hopefully. You got to do what you got to do. I know people who were making, $15, $20, $30 an hour. I know these people. I know people that are happier making less than they were when they were making more. You've heard the stories. People coming off of the New York Stock Exchange floor, they're brokers, they left, the system, they got out from underneath all of that garbage. They're a stockbroker, but they now do analysis for companies and they make a whole lot less, and you know what? They're a whole lot happier. Why? Because they don't have the pressure. All they do is crunch numbers for a company, give them the, tell them what they need to know about the numbers, and go home at night. So think about that one too. From the Washington Post, Detroit files plan to fix debt and leave bankruptcy. Michael Fletcher over there at Washington Post. Thank you, Michael. Posted today, the 21st of February. Detroit officials Friday laid out a plan for exiting the largest municipal bankruptcy in U.S. history that calls for slashing pensions for non-uniformed retirees by nearly 1/3 and repaying bondholders just $1 for every $5 owed to them by the city. The proposed plan of adjustment filed in federal bankruptcy court in Detroit puts dollar figures on the potential cuts facing parties owed money by Detroit for the first time since the city filed its $18 billion bankruptcy case in July. The plan would also cut pensions for police and firefighters, many of whom do not receive Social Security benefits, by 10%. City union leaders and retirees reacted to the plan with alarm, saying it would inflict undue pain on current and former city workers who are not responsible for the city's dire fiscal problems. Quote, the proposed plan of adjustment is a gut punch to Detroit city workers and retirees, unquote. AFS CME Council 25 President Al Garrett, who represents Detroit municipal workers, said in statement, quote, the plan essentially eliminates health care benefits for retirees and drastically cuts earned pension benefits. Retirees cannot survive these huge cuts to the pensions they earned. The plan is unfair and unacceptable, unquote. Gwendolyn Beasley, 67, a former library clerk who retired in 2000 after a 34-year career, called the proposal unfair. Under the plan, she would lose more than $400 of her $1,400 a month pension. Quote, I'm outraged, she said. We didn't cause this deficit in the budget, and to expect us to take these cuts is not right. I hope it is reversed in the courts, unquote. The proposed roadmap out of bankruptcy still faces weeks and months of negotiations in federal bankruptcy court. The talks could result in changes to the plan. Under Chapter 9 of the Bankruptcy Code, Judge Stephen Rhodes must get at least some of the creditors to agree to the terms he imposes. Whatever results from those negotiations could have profound implications for worker pensions in other distressed cities. Although public worker pensions are protected from cuts under the Michigan Constitution, a December court ruling said that bankruptcy trumps those protections, leaving pensions vulnerable to be cut just like any other financial obligation. If that stands through appeals, public workers elsewhere could face a similar fate. I'm going to put this up on Free America Radio on Facebook. See what happens when cities go bankrupt? You see that? It affects everybody. It doesn't just affect the worker. And besides that, have you heard, some cases where people were making, I don't know what, I'll just throw out a number here because I don't know exactly, the numbers. But people were making, 45, 50, 60,000 a year, right? And, their Social Security, their pensions, that they get basically are more than they got per year working. Okay, that's a big problem. Okay, if you make $50,000 a year working and you worked for over 40 years, or let's just be more realistic. If you're making $50,000 and you worked 30 years and you retired, you should have set aside some money, to hopefully sustain you while you are retired. And in most cases, if you, I'm throwing out numbers here. Again, if you make $50,000, why are you getting over that amount in retirement? Doesn't make any sense. No wonder my Social Security pension when I retire in so many years from now is going to be gone because people like that. Okay? It stands to reason that logic states don't spend more than you make. So how can you make more than you make? It just does. See, it doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. Okay? I go to break here in a few. I come back, I'll talk about Ted Nugent. Boy, oh boy, are people pissed off at him. Somebody doesn't like him. I think it's the GOP out of Texas. I don't know, man. We'll talk about that when we get back. You can email me at freeamericaradio@unseen.is. freeamericaradio@unseen.is. Go to freeamericaradio.us for more information. Please help Free America Radio Network get to the next level. As a matter of fact, I encourage everybody to support alternative media. GuerrillaMediaNetwork.com, Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker over on Facebook, LateNightInTheMidlands.com, and there's tons of others. Go look for them, support them, because guess what? The state-run media ain't going to tell you any truth or facts whatsoever. They're lying through their teeth. Remember that. They're lying. Okay, folks. I shall return right after this. Imagine a towering skyscraper with numerous floors, and each floor represents a different level of existence. Matter, spirits, angels, ghosts, extraterrestrials, quantum physics, biology, neuroscience, religion, metaphysics, even paranormal studies, all have their place in The Grid. The Grid, exploring the hidden infrastructure of reality, by Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman. Available at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com.
Sarasota's home for R&B and soul. The Razor Blade Express with Dave the Rave.
The hottest new talk radio show is on Revolution Radio. The BK Factor talks about news, religion, politics, and more. BK adds his opinion to all of it. The BK Factor airs Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific Time, noon to 2 Eastern. If you miss a show, you miss out. Sharing the truth, one fact at a time. Defending liberty and freedom. Fighting the New World Order. This is the Free America Radio Network. Hey folks, how you doing? This is the views expressed right here on the Free America Radio Network for the 21st of February. You know, that month. February. There we go. I have to enunciate my words properly. Yes, folks, it is the bottom of the hour. We got an hour and a half left on this wonderful Friday. It's a combined show. This is the views expressed along with the Wayne S. Pierce Show. Things are changing for the Free America Radio Network, and you, my faithful listeners, you can be a part of Free America Radio Network and its advancement to the next level. Go to freeamericaradio.us and donate what you can. And if you're not able to, no big deal. That's just the way it is, you know. Let's take the truth and the facts to the next step, shall we? Go to freeamericaradio.us, donate to Free America Radio Network. Yes. And let's give the New World Order a couple of black eyes, a gut punch, and kick them in the groin, and a few other things. And then we'll have Nick Tucker, body slam him, give him a drop kick, pile drive him, that kind of thing. Anyway. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. You know what I mean? So anyway, hey. You want to email me? You can. If you're in the Spreaker chat, say hi. I appreciate that. If you want to email me, you can. That's freeamericaradio@unseen.is. That is freeamericaradio@unseen.is. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful, isn't it? I am your host, Reverend Wayne S. Pierce, right here for the Views Express live on this wonderful, overcast, a little bit chilly Friday here in the biggest little city in the world. I want to give a big shout out to Nick Tucker, Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker on Facebook, distortedreality.podbean.com. Check out his episodes as well. As soon as I get some tech issues worked out with my computer, I shall have him on the show and we will talk about all sorts of stuff. Paul J. Weber Sorry, Paul. Paul J. Weber from the Associated Press. It's over on Boston.com as well. I'll put this up on Free America Radio on Facebook. Actually, it's on the main feed on Facebook. Okay. Nugent backlash reveals rare misstep for Texas GOP. Austin, Texas. Mitt Romney rallied with Kid Rock and President George W. Bush had a fan in Alice Cooper. But a Ted Nugent encore in the Texas governor's race is growing unlikely after blowback from Republican Greg Abbott's embrace of the ultimate shock rocker. Call it a rare case of veering too far right in Texas this election. Abbott, the leading Republican candidate to succeed Governor Rick Perry, remained silent about Nugent Friday after taking heat this week for inviting the brash gun rights guitarist to appear with him at campaign events. Nugent has suggested treating immigrants like indentured servants, and last month was quoted calling President Barack Obama a subhuman mongrel. Perry disavowed that language by Nugent, who played at Perry's inauguration in 2007. Republican U.S. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, a Tea Party favorite, like Abbott, also rebuked Nugent by late Thursday. Quote, Ted Nugent's derogatory description of President Obama is offensive and has no place in politics. He should apologize, Paul tweeted. Nugent did just that Friday, telling Dallas radio station WBAP that he apologized, quote, for using the street fight terminology of subhuman mongrel, unquote, but he maintained that Obama was a liar, violating the Constitution. The Nugent flap was the latest example of GOP candidates staying unabashedly to the right as they approach the state's March 4th primary, which will move Texas closer to its biggest power shakeup in a decade. Every statewide office could change hands in November. Perry and U.S. Senator Ted Cruz could also present two potential 2016 presidential candidates from Texas. The tone of the GOP race contrasts with assertions by Democratic gubernatorial candidate Wendy Davis and her party that Texas is becoming a broader political battleground as its demographics change. Provocative conservative proposals to repeal the 17th Amendment, which lets voters, not state legislatures, pick U.S. senators, have been kicked around in the race for lieutenant governor. One of the candidates called the flow of immigrants from Mexico an quote-unquote invasion. Anti-abortion credentials are discussed as freely as energy ideas among Republicans vying to regulate the state's oil and gas industry. Within the last year, Texas passed a divisive 20-week ban on abortions, imposed cuts that caused Planned Parenthood clinics to shutter, and enacted one of the nation's most stringent voter ID laws. That hasn't protected the Republican House Speaker, however, from a far-right group that has collected six-figure donations for primary challengers against him and top lieutenants. The tact reflects a clear judgment about Republican voters' tastes. Quote, all they seem to argue about is who's the most conservative, which is good for me, unquote, said voter Bob Baker. After taking his seat at the Republican primary debate near Austin, quote, just as normal as they shouldn't have any conservatives in New York, we shouldn't have any liberals in Texas, unquote. But the Nugent episode isn't the first time a leading Republican may have touched a nerve. State Rep. Jason Villalba, there we go, is rising Republican star in Texas, sharply urged his party's 4 lieutenant governor candidates to stop using harsh rhetoric about immigration in the country illegally and, quote, acknowledge the humanity, unquote, in an open letter this month. Quote, they're not warmongering adversaries, they're seeking the American dream, unquote, Villalba said. Abbott, who's been state attorney general since 2002 and boasts and boast for suing the federal government 30 times, has essentially run an general election campaign from the start. Abbott said inviting Nugent magnified a contrast with his Democratic opponent, who has made her pitch for conservative voters by coming out in favor of, quote-unquote, open carry gun laws before qualifying her stance. But the Nugent appearance left Abbott on a defensive for one of the first times in the race. Quote, I don't know what he may have said or done in his background, unquote, Abbott said, following a rally with Nugent on Tuesday. Quote, what I do know is Ted Nugent stands for the Constitution. He stands against the federal government overreaching and doing what they're doing to harm Texans, unquote. Perry, who isn't seeking re-election after 14 years in office, said Thursday he's, quote, got a problem, unquote, with calling the president a mongrel and called the language inappropriate. But he predicted voters would not be distracted from Davis's liberal record. Nugent also, treasurer of Republican candidate for Texas Agriculture Commissioner, said Texas must defend its brand of ultra-conservatism. It goes on, folks, but I'll put it up here on Facebook there, up there on that thing there, Anyway. So what is the cause? Because it will have an effect. What cause do you want? And what effect do you need to make the changes that you're looking for? All I can say is you've got to weigh out everything that you see. You don't have to believe me. You can go check this stuff out yourself because it's right there in front of you. But you have to also ask yourself, what do I want out of all of this? Okay? You have to ask yourself that question, because if you don't, you'll not know what to do. It's amazing to me that somebody would be pissed off at someone like Ted Nugent, who is an ultra-conservative, true to form, hunter, stands for the Constitution. I'd like to see him and former Governor Jesse Ventura get together and have a debate. That would be nice. I look at it this way, folks. We all have to ask ourselves what we want as an end result. Do we want a state filled with liberals that want to give the store away to everybody that crosses the border? No. And don't give me this crap that they don't. They do. Look at their philosophies in their parties. We've got to help out. And they guise it in ways that it's just incredibly stupid, as if they think we're stupid. God, I'd like to punch them in the throat, because they don't know. There's a lot of things that they know, and I'm okay with that. But when it comes to governing, they have absolutely no clue what they're doing. Okay? None. You live in a conservative state that has an open carry status for a weapon, and they want to take that away from you, a gun owner, and they want to limit your Second Amendment and your First Amendment and all the Bill of Rights because, we're going to have open borders, we're going to have these immigrants come in, and they're going to have more rights than you do. Really? Let me bottom line it for you, folks. Let me just bottom line it for you. These far-left liberal fascist goons, these subhuman mongrels, and I'll call them like it is. If Ted Nugent wants to apologize for it, he can go ahead, but I won't. If they cross the border illegally, and I don't care where they come from, they can come from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Israel, I don't care where they come from. But if they come here and try to change our politics to allow them to get away with the criminal activity that they're committing just by illegally crossing the border, I got a problem with that. And if they want us to shut up so they can have their say. That ain't happening, Jack. Okay? I can walk around here. As a matter of fact, I got pictures up on my Facebook page in my photos, and you'll find them. Just go look for them. I've got pictures from Reno and from Sparks and from the Sparks Marina out here in near Reno, Nevada. And I know that Nick Tucker has told me that he's got a few down there as well. And there's signs up on poles that say free speech zone. Your cities, your counties, and your county board of supervisors and your city councils are in direct violation of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights of the United States of America and the First Amendment, period. And I will not apologize for that, you stupid mongrels. You're subhuman pieces of crap if you want to violate the Constitution. I'm not apologizing. And these morons, these far-left liberal loons that want to have those signs up there, oh yeah, all these illegal immigrants can have all sorts of free speech anywhere they want, but when it comes to us, the ones that were born and raised here, oh, we have to follow that sign. We have to follow the rules. No, kiss my ass. I got free speech, and it's called the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights of the United States of America. Prior to 1871. That First Amendment applies to me and applies to everybody. And if you're going to selectively use it to allow somebody else to have more free speech than me, oh, Mr. Politician, do I have a problem with you, you subhuman mongrel? And I make no apologies. You got one option, politicians. One option. One. Count them. One option. You've got one option. You will do what the Constitution says you do, not your state constitutions. Oh, we have to make it politically correct because we don't want to offend anybody. What? What kind of bullcrap is that? By the way, you can go talk to Bob Brutus at wakingupthemasses.com, and he will point you chapter and verse to when the United States of America was taken over by the corporations in 1925. He will tell you in 1913, and he will show you line after chapter after verse when President Woodrow Wilson signed the Internal Revenue Act and the Federal Reserve Act, handing all of our money and the commerce of the United States of America over to the Rothschilds in England and the Rockefellers here in the United States. Prior to 1871, guess what? 6 years after the Civil War ended in 1865, the Rothschilds came in and bailed out the United States of America. That's why we are the United States of America Incorporated. We are not a free nation. We never have been a free nation. How do you think we can, get all of these trading contracts and these treaties with people if we didn't have the foundation of a business to do so? What do you think your states are? They're incorporated. Why do you think your counties, your cities, you hear this phrase, oh, that's out in the unincorporated area? Why do you hear that? Why is that said? And why is it said within the city limits it's incorporated? Why? Why do you hear that? Because it's United States of America Incorporated. We're a freaking business, folks. And you and I, in the labor market, are nothing more than little tiny slaves. And they don't like us. We are part of the Borg Collective, for you Star Trek fanatics out there. We are part of that Borg Collective. We do nothing individually. We have a semblance of peace, freedom, and security in this nation. Not so much security anymore because our military's elsewhere. But we, the people, stand upon what is free, what is sure, what is certain. And you know what that is? The Constitution and the Bill of Rights prior to 1871. That is what we do. My relatives were in the Union Army in 1861 up in Michigan. Let me tell you something. I'll stand with them today. And I'll stand with anybody right now, today, this minute, this hour, on the 21st of February, 2014, to defend my nation against the tyrants out of Washington, D.C. And I make no apologies for that. Now, a lot of you people in Georgia and in the South and all of that, I have a great deal of respect for you people. But you better check your history. You better check your history. Okay? You had a great idea, but you had some really screwed up leaders. An idea of a political system that would have worked. Unfortunately, you had some greedy, selfish, self-centered bastards in the offices down there. Okay? And then you had the worst thing that anybody would have ever had, and that is slavery. You had some other things going on down there too, but slavery was the big one. We didn't fight a civil war to end slavery. We fought a civil war to end secession. Go check out your history. Okay? And guess what? Look, you got to go to work every day. You got to go clock in every day. You got to get a paycheck every other week or every week, depending. And guess what? You're slaves. Why do you think you do what you do? It didn't end. It just went down a different road. I don't know why people can't understand that. We live in the United States of America. What the hell are you people doing? Let me break this down for you before going to the top of the hour break. Let me just give you all of my points in this breakdown right now. We have a society of people that want to be free, secure in their own homes and be able to protect themselves. We have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights prior to 1871 that protects that God-given right, period. Number one, if any state legislature from the governor on down to the board of supervisors in the county or the mayor in the city or on the city council proposes any type of gun control law, insert confiscation there, you are in direct violation of the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights of the United States of America, period. Not taking into consideration your own state constitution, because the federal constitution overrides anything in that thing. Now, it better mirror it or you throw it away. Period. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people will say, no, well, we have a right as a state to do what we want. Who in the hell do you think helped you write that state constitution? Business people. Corporations. Yes. Tell me through history, what was the first state in the North or South? It doesn't matter. What was the first state that came up and developed their own constitution? You better track the names there, because they'll go back to the corporation. Okay? We no longer have a United States of America. We have a divided States of America. And what are we divided by? And what divided us anyway? Ideology. Number 2, if any politician says or claims or makes promises that he's going to work for you, or that he identifies and claims that he works for you, hold them accountable. Wendy Davis, Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, Hillary Clinton, you name it. If they claim to work for you, hold them accountable. And if they've committed a crime against humanity and against society and against the Constitution of the United States, throw their ass in jail. That's just the way it is. How do you think people in the Civil War were treated when they committed treason against the United States? They were hung. I mean, is the punishment worth the crime? Would you not like to see these criminal politicians behind bars? Hey, why don't we do something less drastic? How about we do what Iceland did? Well, they jailed some of their politicians too. Good. We need to do that. But you see, number 3, the laws that 95% of Congress are attorneys. These laws that are out there are constructed and written and created by attorneys to do one thing. They sit in their offices saying, what kind of a law can we make that we don't have to follow, but we're going to make the people of the United States follow, and we're going to throw their butt in jail if they don't. See, we need to take all of them, and fire them. We got midterm elections coming up. Oh, wait, hold on. Little tidbit of information there as well. Elections do not matter. Never have, never will. All of your politicians, through money, through connections, through whatever, your politicians are selected, not elected. They're all selected. Why do you think certain groups back certain politicians? Why do you think that, since you're familiar with it, why do you think the Democratic and Republican parties go out and back certain people? For mayor, for governor, why? Because they were told to do so. Because these people are selected. Do you think Governor Andrew Cuomo over in New York was elected? No. He was selected long before Rudy Giuliani got out of office. I mean, seriously. Do you really think that everything is all, cut and dry like that? It's not. Never has been. Never will be. Everything that we see, everything that we know, everything that has been told to us by the state-run media is a complete and utter lie, and it is all a fraud. Every last bit of it. We don't live in the United States of America, people. We live in a North American Union. Go look it up. Oh, and if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear from you. Free America Radio at unseen.is. Free America Radio at unseen.is. I'll be right back.
Late Night in the Midlands is an alternative media that covers the truth, theory, and fact that the lamestream media won't talk about. We cover everything from the known and the unknown, the normal and the paranormal, the government lies and the government ties, and even their thrive. We tell what's coming, what's going, whether it be politics or archaeologists. We have an amazing fan base, and our shows are all archived to be heard millions of times more. So tell your friends, your family, and anybody you care about LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Become a member and be informed.
Get your morning started with the Morning Brew on 92.6 The Blitz. Music from the 60s, 70s, and more. The Blitz 92.6. Go to radiorocktheblitz.blogspot.com.
Free Talk Live.
You give someone an ounce of liberty and they'll go around abusing it and harming everyone else with it.
If we legalize guns...
People will be shooting people everywhere.
Right.
If you legalize prostitution, people will be having sex on the street corners. If you legalize drugs, we'll have heroin vending machines in the streets. We've heard it all on Free Talk Live. They take it to the most absurd, illogical extremes, and you're absolutely right, Alexander. It's okay for them to have freedom.
Yeah, you can give them a gun. They won't go around shooting people. But watch out with their neighbor, because you give them a gun, they'll go around in a rampage around the city, killing everyone.
But yes, they can be trusted, and apparently the government can be trusted too, because magically, we only elect the best of the best, the cream of the crop. The bureaucrats that are administering these programs are the upper echelon of society, the most trustworthy individuals.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes when I squint, I swear I can see a halo above their heads.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Are you tired of the mainstream media? The media that is so biased, you wouldn't even let your dog listen to it? Well, there's an answer. Angel Clark.
On RadioFreedom.us.
Just listen to her fans.
I'm ready to go! Hey!
One hell of a writer. I've read a considerable amount of her articles and quite impressed.
Until Angel, my life was void of meaning.
I want to thank you for saving my goldfish from drowning.
I love Angel Clark's honesty and her down-to-earth concern about the people.
She is very dedicated.
Angel, we need you.
Angel's a sexy woman. I think she's going to go places, but I don't know where.
Ladies and gentlemen, she does a good job.
If it wasn't for Angel,
you saved his life, and I will be indebted to you forever.
SussexCountyAngel.com.
Be a part of Angel's Army.
Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. on RadioFreedom.us.
Free Talk Live.
Do you guys have a zombie plan? I'm just wondering what this country's going to do if we had some sort of apocalypse like that.
Like a zombie attack.
Do?
People coming out of the ground, like in Thriller, like in Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Like 28 days later, like a virus or something.
Oh, okay.
I mean, people don't come back to life.
Well, now, there are different kinds of zombies out there.
Now,
but let me go through the types of zombies. I mean, you've got the ones that can crawl out of the ground, right? And then she was talking about like an infection kind of zombie, like a la Resident Evil, for instance. So ideally, if you're going to have to perish at the hands of a zombie, which would be the preference? Would you prefer to have your brains eaten, or would you prefer to become one of them?
I think I'd rather just die. The last thing I'd want is, of course, the people you split up with, then I'm talking my wife and my child. I'm coming back. I'm wanting to eat Laura's brains. It's bad. It's bad.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. What does freedom mean? Tune in to LRN.FM to find out. LRN.FM is the Liberty Radio Network, a collection of live talk radio and podcasts, all coming from a principled pro-liberty perspective. LRN.FM show hosts aren't left, right, or conspiracy kooks. You can tune in 24/7 to LRN.FM via your phone, computer, satellite, and more. Listen free anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
What's that moving in the shadows? Claranormal Talk Radio with your host, Steve Hembry, right here on RadioKahuna.com.
Is he a conservative liberal? Or is he a liberal conservative? You decide. You're listening to The Views Expressed with Reverend Wayne S. Pierce.
Hey folks, how you doing? This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce. Thank you, Samo. Hey, it's the 21st of February, 2014. How y'all doing? Hey, I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Bob Brutus over at WakingUpTheMasses.com, and also to all you out there in the Chickamauga, Georgia area listening to Views Express Live right there on the 1610 AM side of things in the micro broadcasting vicinity of WakingUpTheMasses.com. How y'all doing there, my southern buddies? I got relatives down there in that area. Yes. Anyway, how y'all doing? It's Friday. It's Friday. You want to get a hold of me? Please do. Go to freeamericaradio.us. Help Free America Radio Network get to the next level. You can be a part of that by donating what you can. Thank you very much. Your support is very much needed at this point. We are stepping it up a bit, and you can be a part of that. So go to freeamericaradio.us. Donate if you can. If you can't, not a problem. There you go. No pressure. Also, if you want to email me and send me some information, you can do that too. Email me at freeamericaradio@unseen.is. freeamericaradio@unseen.is. Yes. What is on the agenda today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all colors? Let's put it this way, in a roundabout way, I don't know why they did this, but in a roundabout way, I was accused of being racist, of being prejudiced, of being homophobic, this is over the years, folks, it just didn't happen yesterday. I have to tell you, straight up, transparent, I got friends of every race, creed, and religion, and friends and family of various sexual orientations. Yes, I have gay friends. Yes, I have, lesbian friends. Yes, family friends. I mean, I love them all. I love everybody. You know why? Because everybody deserves it. They don't deserve this crap that they get. Somebody asked me once, being a minister, I do use the title as reverend, but it is important, because I do have passion and revere people in general. Now, if you're a total jerk to me, head on down the road. I'm not going to spend 2 seconds with you. If you're a jerk or an a-hole, that ain't going to happen. It's just not. If you're able-bodied, if you have a sense of yourself and you are human, if you are, feeling good about yourself and very confident, I'll shake your hand, we'll go to dinner, hello. Not a big deal. But if you're going to be a jerk to me and a jerk to my friends, you can jerk off. You know what I'm saying? Just go away, enjoy your day, bye-bye. That's just the way it is. Somebody asked me once, matter of fact, just recently had asked me, well, you're a minister. Why won't you marry same-sex couples? Well, that's like asking, do you prefer, apples over oranges? Do you prefer asparagus over broccoli? I do. As a matter of fact, I prefer broccoli over asparagus. It's a preference. People have preferences. Some people prefer Chevys or Fords. Some people prefer Mazdas over, anything else. You know what I mean? Everybody has a preference. Would I do it? No, because it's a preference. But I will stand next to a minister if the couple would like me to do that and be there for them. Everybody has a preference, and that's the thing I wanted to talk about in this first segment before I get to this next article from ABC News. People have a preference. Their preference is, insert whatever it is there, because of their, or I should say, including their perspective. Okay? People have a preference. Okay? Their perspective says, I'm standing here looking straight ahead. I'm not moving. I'm not looking I'm just looking straight ahead. There it is. Look right there. My perception, what I perceive, my perceptics are showing, are there and they're working and I'm seeing things in my peripheral, but I have a preference to look at one thing. Now, if there's other things there that are, interesting or have my interest or captivate me in some way, I will look that way. I will move that way. I will do this. Bottom line, folks, people have a preference. I prefer broccoli over asparagus. I prefer bananas over oranges. Not that I have anything against oranges. I prefer bananas and oranges over apples. Not that I have anything against apples. I prefer corn on the cob instead of corn in the can. So I have preferences. It is easy to get lost in the minutia and criticize people for what they don't understand. If you're reading something and you get to a word that you don't understand, anything after that is not going to make any sense. Okay, I learned that. I've learned that quite well. You seriously have to clear that word before you go any further. You have to understand what that particular word is, what it means in the context of what you're reading. This is the same thing in life. I've sat down with people from various religions, people with various sexual orientations. And let me tell you, I have nothing against them. They and my friends and family understand where I come from, and they have a great deal of respect for what I believe, and we talk about it. But we have preferences. All of us do. You do. I do. The guy next door does. Everybody has a preference. Does that mean we're wrong? Does that mean we're prejudiced? Does that mean we're racist? Does that mean we're homophobic? No. It just means that we have a preference. We choose to do certain things over certain other things. We choose to have certain things other than certain things. Everybody has a preference. It's simple as that. I really appreciate sitting down with my friends and family who are gay. I sit down, we have dinner, we enjoy the night. There we go. They go home and that's it. I grew up in Stockton, California, and I walked the streets many times in my younger days. And I know a lot of people. And I've met various types of people from various walks of life. I've met the rich people. I've met the poor people. I've met the pimps. I've met the hookers. I've met the police. I've talked to them. I've talked to various people to try to understand what context they have in that particular neighborhood, that particular part of life. What context do they serve in my life, if any? Again, you're reading a book, you get to a word you don't understand. Anything after that is not going to make any sense until you get the understanding of that one word. Same thing. It helps. I don't want to go that deep. That's too much work. I just don't. All I know is everything that I learned in kindergarten, and that's all I need to know. Then you're a freaking moron. I make no apologies for that. If you don't want to, if you prefer one sitcom over another, you're going to watch that one sitcom over the other. Dun, dun, dun. Can I make it any simpler than that? Okay? It's just, it makes no sense to divide yourself within your own ideologies. Understand what they are. And it helps. Oh, believe me, it helps. By the way, there is no Democratic or Republican parties. It's all one and the same. Have you go back and look at the campaigns that Romney and Obama had? They were paid off by the same people. They were funded by the same people. It doesn't matter, folks. The ideologies in the political parties mean absolutely nothing because they're both fascist. They're both of their philosophies are progressive philosophies. It doesn't matter. We don't elect them. They're already selected. The 2014 midterm elections are coming up, and it's not, your votes aren't going to matter. Okay? How about sitting it out this time around? And if you see anywhere between 45 to 55% of the United States voting in the midterm elections, right there should tell you that the whole system is rigged. Okay? If 150 million people voted, right there the system is rigged. And you can go back even to the 2008 and 2012, campaigns. When people started voting, and it's come out in the records. Go look them up. It's come out that even dead people were voting. Okay? Something wrong there. It's not only immoral, it's an ideology. It's part of an ideology that doesn't work. Okay? Going off on that tangent, sorry. Facts are facts, folks. What do you want to know? Facts are facts. There's not one that is better than the other. But people choose and prefer to choose the one, quote-unquote, fact that they think is going to fit in their little paradigm, in their little cookie-cutter world where they've deceived themselves with preconceived ideas. They're only going to take that little bit of information out of 1,000 other pieces of factual information. They're only going to take that little bit and say, yes, that's for me right there. Screw everything else. That little piece is for me. It doesn't matter. It never has mattered. Your votes don't count. Oh, yeah, I know, whatever. It's all fraudulent. It doesn't matter. There's no... The candidates that are running, they're running because it makes the process look good. And they're all selected. Now, I listen to everything. I listen to all sorts of things. And believe me, I'm as flabbergasted as you are sometimes. For instance, FCC wants to send people into the newsroom and the newspapers to find out how they're getting their information, what they're going to report on. Oh, they've pulled back on that now, but they're still going to implement that. They've pulled back on the ideas. They're not. No. They want to squash your First Amendment right. They want to squash free press, free expression, free speech, everything. They want to get rid of it all. That's the FCC for you. Okay? And on the religious side of things, let me go here for a moment, shall I? You have members, or I should say, you have people in positions in Washington, D.C. who are self-avowed members of the Muslim Brotherhood. What kind of crap is that? Kentucky last year just voted through their legislation to ban Sharia law. Good. We need to pack these bitches up and kick them out of the country. Yes, I said it. I make no apologies for it. Sharia law is stupid. It's deadly. It does nothing but serve the selfish interests of those religionists that call themselves the Muslim Brotherhood. And look at what Sharia law does. It screws people up, and it's deadly. Men, do you want your wife to walk around with a burqa on, and all you can see is her eyes? You can't see anything else? Did you know that the United States-backed Syrian rebels who have Muslim Brotherhood connections are cutting the heads off of Christians in Syria? Yeah, you don't hear that in a state-run media, do you? You know why? Because it would drive people to tear down the walls of tyranny coming. There's no walls of tyranny. It will tear the foundation out of the halls of Washington, D.C. if people knew exactly what was going on. I don't want to hear it anymore. You skeptics out there, you people out there that think I'm wrong, I have a challenge for you. I have a challenge for you. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Oh, wait. Let's do one more. Prove yourself right with the information I have and that I share with you. Prove yourself right. You can't, because you know I'm right. Hey, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. You know why? It's called self-responsibility. And I hold myself accountable for everything that I do. Because mama didn't raise no fool. ABC News is reporting White House bars media from the Dalai Lama meeting. President's going to meet with the Dalai Lama. I'd like to meet with him. This is from Associated Press. The White House defended its decision Friday to bar reporters and photojournalists from a meeting between President Barack Obama and the Dalai Lama, while acknowledging the news media's legitimate interest in covering the two leaders' encounter. Obama's meeting with the Dalai Lama drew harsh criticism from China even before the meeting took place, and the White House appeared to be taking steps to keep it low-key to avoid further aggravating Beijing. Obama hosted the Dalai Lama in the White House's map room rather than the Oval Office, where the president traditionally brings a visiting leader for a photo. At the same time, after declining media requests to photograph the meeting, the White House released its own photograph of the meeting produced by an original government an official government photographer. White House spokesman Jay Carney said he understood the media's interest in covering the meeting with the Dalai Lama, a prominent world figure, but he said the decision not to allow access was consistent with past meetings Obama has held with the Buddhist monk. Quote, "We have been working, as you know, to provide more access to photographers as well as to all of you," unquote, Carney told reporters. Quote, "In this case, we weren't able to do that, but we have been working on that effort," unquote. Yeah, sure. Continuing, he added that it was the Dalai Lama's choice to depart the White House without speaking to reporters who had gathered in anticipation that he might make some remarks. Wary of aggravating tensions in China, previous administrations from both parties have restricted or prohibited news coverage of presidential meetings with the Dalai Lama. In the George W. Bush administration, journalists complained when the White House neither permitted journalists to cover the meeting nor released an official photo. Still, the Obama administration's decision comes amid growing media protest about limited access to Obama's events. A coalition of major news organizations, including the Associated Press, has protested restrictions that sometimes keeps journalists from taking pictures and video of Obama performing official duties. In a joint statement, the presidents of two organizations leading that coalition said the White House has agreed previously that in principle there should be independent press coverage whenever the president meets with a major world leader. They said the White House violated the principle Friday by denying access and then releasing its own picture as a, quote, visual press release, unquote. Quote, "Once again, this amounts to propaganda and is not open access by the people's press to the people's business. We are hopeful this will be the last such instance of such unprecedented restriction," unquote, said David Boardman of the American Society of News Editors and Deborah Adams Simmons of the Associated Press Managing Editors. In recent weeks, the White House has taken some steps intended to address those concerns, including allowing journalists traveling with Obama aboard Air Force One to photograph the president while he signed an executive order. I will put this up on Free America Radio on Facebook so you can take a look at it as well. The facts are the facts, folks. There's absolutely, how can anyone avoid them? How can anyone avoid the facts? If you don't look at them, then you can't say you didn't avoid them. You just live, you lie by omission, I guess. I don't know. But it is on Free America Radio on Facebook. Check it out if you would, please. So, what do we have? What do we have? We have a president who's running roughshod over the Constitution. As a matter of fact, he's taking his dirty Kenyan feet and stepping all over it. He's telling his people, around him, I can do what I want. He told Medvedev, prior to Vladimir Putin becoming, I think he became president in 2000, I'm not sure, but I think he was the prime minister at the time, Medvedev. Remember when President Obama told him, hey, after this election, I'll have more room to do what I want? Remember you caught that on a hot mic, right? Yeah. Well, let me put this out here. President's a damn liar. Yeah, I said it, and I make no apologies for it. What are you going to do, sue me? I make no apologies for it. I mean, there are tons and tons and tons of organizations, not mine, not only mine, that are saying that. So what are you going to do? Arrest us all and put us in a FEMA camp? Really? Yeah, right? Yeah. For every one person you take out, there's a million more that are going to make sure that they hold you accountable. Believe me, it happens. Tune in to The Views Expressed live, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on RadioKahuna.com.
Joining us today on RadioKahuna.com. We so appreciate having you in. This is Steve from Claire Normal Talk Radio. I'm also here, one of the personalities on Radio Kahuna. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy having you people in. Thank you so very much. Hey, we're growing all over the planet by leaps and bounds. People from all over the planet are coming in and listening. But there's not enough. It's not enough. We need more. We're asking for your help. Tell a friend. Tell 2 friends. Tell 10 friends. Just tell them this. Tell them they'll get laid. Come on in. Enjoy the surf. The sets are fine. Steve from Claire Normal Talk Radio and Radio Kahuna. Thank you very much.
Did you know that the first Matrix was designed to be a perfect human world where none suffered, where everyone would be happy? And it was a disaster. No one would accept the program. Entire crops were lost. Some believed that we lacked the programming language to describe your perfect world, but I believe that as a species, human beings define their reality through misery and suffering. So the perfect world was a dream that your primitive cerebrum kept trying to wake up from. Which is why the Matrix was redesigned to this, the peak of your civilization.
Sharing the truth, one fact at a time. Defending liberty and freedom. Fighting the New World Order. This is the Free America Radio Network. Hey, welcome back, folks. Yay. Yes, this is the Free America Radio Network. You're listening to The Views Expressed. We are here Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, unless I have tech difficulties and then, I can't do the show like I did yesterday. But yes, we are here Monday through Friday. You can check out the show and the podcast at freeamericaradio.us. You can also email us at freeamericaradio@unseen.is, freeamericaradio@unseen.is, or if you're on the website at freeamericaradio.us, just email us there. That's cool. Yes. So, I got to tell you something. This past weekend, we went to San Francisco. And I got to tell you, I've never been to New York. So I want you people who have been to New York and San Francisco to tell me what the comparison is, okay? I love San Francisco. I really do. I think it's a really, really great city. A little expensive to live there. That's why people live in Tracy and Modesto and and all points outside of the city. And they work in San Francisco, but we walked around, we took the bus, we took the trolley, we went to Alcatraz, we did all that, and it was great. It's fantastic. Loved the place. And we didn't want to leave. And I look at San Francisco as being one of those cities where, if crap hits the fan, what are people going to do? Are you prepared in the big cities? I don't know about Chickamauga, Georgia. Hello, all you out there listening on 1610 AM, micro broadcasting throughout the area. from Bob Brutus and WakingUpTheMasses.com. I don't know how you're prepared in the big cities. You been to Atlanta? You've been to Miami? You've been to New York? You've been to Chicago? You've been to, all these huge, massive cities. Been to L.A.? I've been to L.A. I haven't been to L.A. in I don't know how many decades. Okay. Got a friend of mine that lives down around there. But all these big cities have one problem. No way out. We're downtown on Market Street in San Francisco, and I got pictures. And I got to tell you, if crap hits the fan, there ain't no place to go. You got to make your way out. There is no place to go. In little cities like Reno, Nevada, we don't have too many big buildings here, but let me tell you, there's ways out. Okay. You go to Google Earth, you go to Reno, Nevada, there's ways out of here, okay? And believe me, we get out of here. But in the big cities, you can't. You got all these big buildings in the way. If you go downtown, if you go into the crux of the city, where all the action is, and you see, like in San Francisco, you got the subway entrance, you got the Muni, you got the buses, you got this, you got all these things. The only place that you can go literally is to the port, to the piers, to Piers 31, Pier 15, Pier 1, Pier 39. You need to hit those areas. That's the only way out. And then you're stuck because you're at the water. So what's going to happen? You can't go to the hills because, you're all blocked in these cities, right? So how are you preparing yourself? How are you preparing yourself? Coming up on the Views Express Live, I'm going to have some guests that will explain, how to prepare yourself, how to make sure that you can get the hell out of the city. Because, if you're out in the country or if you're outside of the city, you've got a way out. But if you're in the city, you're not going to get far. Speaking of the inner city, speaking of cities and big cities like San Francisco and New York and Chicago, they have these things called micro apartments. Go look them up. Go to startpage.com, punch in micro apartments, and you will see these things. If you live on the outskirts of the city, like maybe, about a half a mile away from downtown, or you live in, outside of town in a house somewhere on some acreage and whatever. UN Agenda 21 Sustainable Development wants to take you from out there into the city and put you in one of those micro apartments. Prime example of what they are. Have you seen the movie Fifth Element with Bruce Willis? That is a micro apartment. It's not as functional as that in the movie, but it is functional. I have seen, you can go to YouTube and check out micro apartment furniture. You'll see that you'll have a table that you eat on and all of that, and you can just pull down the wall and there's your bed, and the table just folds up underneath of it. I've seen photos and videos of bookshelves that you can move out of the way, and right behind it is your kitchen, little tiny mini kitchen that you got there. Oh yeah, they want to take you and put you in these big, huge buildings in the city to monitor you, track you, keep you enslaved in your little pen like you're an animal in a zoo. They don't want you to think because, some of the states are getting rid of Common Core. Get that Communist Core out of here because that's pointless and it's worthless and parents are angry. Okay. They want you to learn what they want you to learn. They want to indoctrinate you with their principles, with their philosophies, with their ideologies. And by putting you in this little micro apartment in the big cities, in a building with other micro apartments, they'll just you go to work, you're a cog in the wheel, you go do what you do, you come back, you don't have books, you don't have anything. Greatest example of that particular instance is the movie Fahrenheit 451. Actually, there was a short story written that was developed into the book Fahrenheit 451, and it was called The Pedestrian, Ray Bradbury. The Pedestrian. And if I forget what show was on, it was like Amazing Stories or something like that, or Twilight Zone, or not Twilight Zone, Outer Limits or something. Some show like that. It had David Ogden Stiers, remember him from MASH? Charles W. Winchester. Remember him? Yeah, he was in this. It was called The Pedestrian. Okay? So go check that out. It's on YouTube, as a matter of fact. It's where I saw it. They want you to they want to cram you in these little areas. They don't want you to think. They don't want you to breathe. They don't want you to move. You only go where they want you to go. They put you in these buildings and, you got a store downstairs. Go down there and go to the store there. You don't have to drive 3 or 4 miles to go to a store. You got one right there in your building. What? You want to eat? You want to go out to eat? Yeah, there's a restaurant down there too. Yeah, right there on this. Yeah, there it is. You see? They don't want you to be able to move. They don't want you to be able to have a free mind. They don't. So, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to, what measures are you going to take to combat this suppression? Because the more that you're suppressed, the more oppressed that you get. The more oppressed that you get, the more depressed that you get. Go look under psychology, under those 3 words that I just used. Suppression, oppression, depression. Yeah, same thing. It'll screw you up if you don't break free and have a way to release that angst that's in you. Go look it up. How do we combat? Or should I say contend against the measures of the New World Order, the Bilderbergs, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission? How can we contend against those people and defend our liberties and freedoms and be more secure in our persons, papers, and belongings? It's real simple, folks. It's called a revolution. I'm not calling for a revolution. I'm calling for peaceful demonstrations. I'm calling for civil disobedience. I'm calling for raising signs, shouting at the top of your lungs that you're not going to take this anymore. Oh, and by the way, those that are in control want you to, figuratively speaking, take the first shot. Because then they'll clamp down on you. They will suppress you to the nth degree. And then they have you. So please do not do anything violent. Civil disobedience is the way to go. You can go to the parking garages. I've seen this. You can go to the parking garages. You can have hundreds of your friends, or if you don't have that many, gather people together. Go to the parking garages downtown in your area. Screw those signs that say free speech area. That's a violation of your First Amendment right. As a matter of fact, rebel against that. How? Go to your city council meetings when they're open to the public and you tell them specifically, you want those signs taken down. Period. And if they hem and haw and say, well, we can't do that, and if they argue with you, you just tell them, Mr. Mayor, Mr. and Ms. Council members, there's an election coming up. I really do think you want your political career to last a lot longer, don't you? And then turn around and walk out. You don't have to have 50 people in the room yelling at the top of their lungs to make them change, because you know what those council members will do. They'll just get up and walk out. Conduct business another day. You need to go to the tops and every single floor of these parking garages. You have to have people on the streets with signs, bullhorns, whatever. You need to get out there and be the activist that you are. You do. And I know here in the biggest little city in the world, I've seen the activists. I've seen the activists. Didn't matter what color they were. They were acting. They were out there being the activist that they are. People have got to do what they got to do. I don't know too many people here in the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada, that would stand behind me. I don't know too many people that would do that. But I know that there are people here in this city that are sick and tired of the bull crap that's out there right now. Hell, I know people who are sick and tired of Harry Reid. I know people who are sick and tired of being suppressed. That's the ultimate. If you're sick and tired of being suppressed, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Like I said, I don't know too many people here in Reno, Nevada who would get behind me. But I do know people who are activists. I do know people who will stand up for the Second Amendment, for the First Amendment, for the Third Amendment. I know people that will hold the Constitution and the Bill of Rights of the United States of America in their hand and look at the politicians and say, you either follow this or get the hell out of office. Now, there's a state constitution. I understand that. I understand that. And I understand the reason why. Because they don't want to piss people off. If we only cater to one type of person or a certain group, then it's going to piss somebody else off and they have a right to speak their mind. I agree. But it's when that other group decides to push the issue in such a way to where, number one, it's going to suppress you, and they're going to try to shut down your free speech. That's wrong, and that group needs to be disbanded by court order. Okay? You don't need to get in some slugging match with them. You just need to tell them the truth. There was an organization here. There is an organization here that a few years ago, a bunch of people were out protesting in front of it. Well, the leaders, or a leader in the organization, came out and talked to one of the people and actually invited him into the building. There was no more protest after that. Because, as I said before the break, when you read a book and you get to a word that you don't understand, you have to clear that word before you go on, because if you go on without understanding that single word, nothing else after that is going to make any sense. This is true with politics. Politics. What is politics? I mean, define politics. Define politics. Politics is not anything other than a process. It has nothing to do directly with the functioning of, let me rephrase that. Politics is a process. And the parties are taking that process and personifying that in their parties, making it what it is. Divisive. Okay? Politics is a divisive tool to drive you oftentimes to the brink of just totally not caring. But politics is that tool they use to drive a wedge between you and what is right. And you know intuitively, instinctively, your gut feeling is 100% correct all the time, and you know what they do is completely and utterly wrong and against the law, and you're sitting there listening to them, and you're getting buffaloed by their psychological operations, and you're believing every single word that they're saying. So at one point you're going to go, it's okay, everything's fine. Obama's doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and everything is just fine. Nothing is wrong. Listen to your state-run media. It's fine. It is all bullcrap, folks. Why would you want to vote for someone who does that to you, or even within their own party? Within their own group of people that they cater to? Why would you want that? When you're out with your friends and you're cruising around and you're out there bowling or at the football game or whatever, and you're around your friends, do you do things that are going to divide that group? No. They're your friends. You wouldn't do that. But somebody else is going to come along and get into that little group that you're in and start using big $3 college words and try to manipulate the situation and drive a wedge between you because they want you on their side. It's real simple, folks. It's real simple. You know exactly what is right, you know exactly what is wrong, and you feel it in your heart, and you feel it in every fiber of your body, and in every bone that you have. You understand what is right and wrong. You understand this. Because it's staring you in the face. And other people will look at it and go, oh, I don't want to see that. No, I don't, no, that's not right. I'm going to go over here and watch a football game. I don't give a crap about that. So you sit down in your room or you watch TV or you get on the internet and you do all kinds of stuff. You just, whatever it is. Because you don't want to be involved. And that's the sad part about America. That's why when you look at the polls, which I can care less about, but when you look at them, they will show that in the 2008 election, was it only 46% of the population voted? So if you're part of that 54% that didn't vote, do you want someone voting for you? I don't think so. I don't. I want to vote for the right person. I want to vote for the person that's going to do the... Well, then get out there. Be the activist. Move. Get out there. Make sure it happens. First thing you got to do is hold all these politicians accountable and say, look, I know you're criminal. I know what you're doing is trying to suppress me, and I'm not going to have it anymore. I think, who was it, Albert Finney or somebody, I think it was, in the movie Network. Go look that movie up. Network. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. That's exactly how you have to be. So are you going to allow your politician to run roughshod over the Constitution that you possibly, if you were a military individual, put your life on the line to protect? You served your country, holding up your right hand and pledging your support and defense of the Constitution of the United States of America against enemies foreign and domestic. And what are you doing? You're sitting there going, I don't want to be involved. I want to watch my football game. I'll tell you what, you can watch your football game all day long, but you're going to be in a jail cell because you're going to be in a FEMA camp. And then they're going to tell you what to watch. And the FCC is going to tell you what to watch. And the FCC is going to push for this quote-unquote fairness doctrine. They're going to shut down the internet. Why? Because people like me, people like Alex Jones, people like Glenn Beck, people like Nick Tucker, people like Brian Keller, people like Michael Vera over at Late Night in the Midlands, people like Pete Santilli and Patrick Henningsen. This government wants to shut down the voices of the people. Are you going to allow that? Are you going to allow to be that suppressed to where your voice will not be heard? I'm not going to stand for it. Are you? I'm not going to put up with it. Are you? Free America Radio Network, sharing the truth one fact at a time. We're going to the next level, and we're going to be the activists that we should be. And it's not a selfish thing. It's a cultural thing. Look at it. Look at what their culture, look at what their principles have done to the freedom culture in this nation. Look at it. Look at it. Free America Radio Network is going to the next level. We need your help. If you can. If you can help, I applaud you. If you're not able to, not a big deal. Go to your alternative media outlets. Guerrilla Media Network. Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker. distortedreality.podbean.com. Go to latenightinthe.midlands.com. Email Michael Vera over there. Tell him I sent you. Reverend Wayne S. Pierce from the Views Expressed Live, Free America Radio Network. You tell him I sent you there. Go email Patriots Freedom Network on Facebook. Go email Washington Bull Party on Facebook. Go email Brian Keller on Facebook. Oh, and yeah, you can have a much more secure communication area by going to unseen.is. www.unseen.is. You can email me at freeamericaradio@unseen.is. Do all that. There's a lot that we have to cover next week. And I hope to have a guest. Don't know. Gonna have to email them. I'm hoping to have a guest. You You can always catch me Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on Free America Radio Network, freeamericaradio.us. Free America Radio at unseen.is is the email address. Please email me and let me know how everything is. Come join me Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here. Hello, Bob Brittis at Waking Up the Masses. Coming up next, we the people have the power, for we are America.